Nice.
Hell yeah.
Hello? Whoa. Oh fuck. Oh, this is backwards. It's time to put holes in the van. We are back in the shed, so we have a lot of space to work with and the weather is class, so I've made a little checklist of what we're going to do today. I don't know if we're going to get everything done, but cut the new floor, that's already done. One down. It hasn't been stuck down yet because I need to put pieces of wood to kind of support the entry points where it's going to get a lot of foot traffic, because over time that'll wear down and you're constantly pushing against it, and if there's no support it might break it. Install the fan. I have everything ready. I'll talk you through that in a second. Add the floor levelers, which is the support for the floor. Stick and screw down the floor. Tape the insulation, so using aluminum tape. I don't have it with me, but using aluminum tape to tape all the joints and the seams to improve the thermal quality of the insulation that we have here. Glue on the fleece to the thermal foil that's all around the van. That's our last layer of insulation. Mark out the wet bed windows. Mold prevent the floor, so putting like a preventative kind of like it's not paint, it's like a clear liquid that prevents mold and mildew. Either that or put on varnish. We'll see what we have here, and then temporarily install the floor trim, which is for the entry point of the van. So at the start of the video we've already cut the new floor. Happy days. Next up we're going to install the fan. I've actually made a checklist for if you want to install a fan in your own van, so let me show you that. This is the checklist for installing a vent, if you ever wanted to install your own vent. If you want to take a screenshot of this. First on the checklist is a silicone gun, Sikaflex 522 adhesive sealant, butyl rubber tape, masking tape or washi tape, a metal file, a rust prevention paint or spray, a pair of scissors, the vent flange and the frame you made, a jigsaw and a metal blade, clamps, drill and metal drill bits. Last but not least, PPE, which is really important because when you're drilling and cutting metal, there's going to be shards and little pieces of metal flying around the place. So if you have a visor, all I have is these glasses and ear protection if you have them. But what I'm going to do is I'll do a voiceover because I want to fully focus on this. This is my first time cutting holes in the van, so I want to be able to focus on it as opposed to like trying to film me talking and all that. So let's start, I suppose. Here we go, lads. The day has finally come. I'm just double checking and measuring everything again before I install this vent. The first thing I'm doing here is taking a nail and punching a hole in the corners. These will just create a guide for your drill so it doesn't start sliding all over the roof. So I'm just taking a 2mm drill bit here and drilling pilot holes on the small holes that we've punched with a screw. Again, this is just acting as a guide so that when we use bigger drill bits, it doesn't start sliding all over the place. Then we just took a step drill bit to make those holes bigger, but Annie drilled her first holes in Morrison, so here she is. Yeah, slow and steady. And then use your other hand to push down the top of the drill. Yeah. Keep going, faster. Keep going. There you go. There you go.
Wow.
Now, do the other one. Nice.
Hell yeah.
Oh! And after After those holes were big enough to fit our jigsaw blade through, we started cutting our first panel out of the van. As you can see there, the jigsaw was jumping up and down because of the uneven surface, and I couldn't figure out how to make it level, so we just powered through with it. But once we got over these ridges, it was plain sailing. I kept adding masking tape to reinforce the panel and help stop it flapping up and down because of the vibrations of the jigsaw. Whew! Keep jumping up. And he's gonna go grab another bit. Our one snapped off. It's so hard to get in between these ridges because the jigsaw keeps jumping up and down. We're almost there. We need to do one more line and then this straight one. These straight ones are really easy. It's the ridges that are really hard to cut. It's always scary to cut big gaping holes in the van, but after a little while I got the hang of it and got used to how the jigsaw was cutting the metal. Hello? Once the hole was finally cut, I started filing down the edges with a metal file and removing any bits that were protruding that could potentially cause a leak. Can't believe there's a hole in Morrison. No! Make sure to get rid of any metal filings that's around here because they'll rust, and they'll rust into the van if they're still here. The sun's going down, so I'm going to reverse the van into the shed and work in there. That's what I'm going to do. File this down, sweep up here, I'll meet you back in the shed. Next up is to prevent rust after you cut the hole, after you file it down. Really only want the bits that are exposed from the metal that you've cut. So I'm just going to use a corrosion preventer spray paint because I don't have, well, I have a hammer right there, but it just takes way too long to dry, so I'm just going to use a bit of spray paint. Next up we get our butyl tape and we just try to create a level edge for the vent to sit on top of. I'm just using a degreasing spray here to clean the surface and enhance the adhesion of the butyl rubber tape to stick to. Then after a good wipe down, I started layering the butyl rubber tape on the lower parts of the roof in between the ridges and trying to make it all level. It's probably better to put more than you think because I wish I put another layer around this. I think I ended up putting 4 layers on the lowest parts, but it definitely could have done with one more. This is what it looked like after I actually put one extra layer on top of all this, but I wish I put another one just for good measure. Put that butyl rubber and I've just layered it up. It just creates a level surface for this flange to sit on top of, so that when you screw it down, it all screws down onto a level surface as opposed to certain bits being exposed. So you can get vent adapters that kind of fits on top of the ridges. This works perfectly fine, and then you just seal it off with a bit of sealant. Remember from the last episode I put a little arrow to show me which direction it should be facing so I don't install it the wrong way. So I have this arrow here to point to the front of the van, and then you just slap it on. There we go. So that's it there now. And then the vent will just sit in just like that. Happy days. Once all the prep work was done, it's time to fit it all together. I placed the flange into the hole and headed down to secure the wooden frame underneath with a bit of this 522 Sikaflex. I'd recommend 2 people for this bit. Oh shit. How am I gonna do this? I struggled to keep the wooden frame in place and grab the clamps on the floor, but I managed to do it somehow. You don't really need these clamps, but they're just really handy to keep the frame in place while you're screwing the vent from the roof. Then I just started pre-drilling through the roof and into the wooden frame to make small holes for the screws that we're using to screw into the wooden frame easier. All I'm doing is grabbing my screws and putting a bit of Sikaflex on it to seal it so that no water gets in. You don't have to do this, lads, especially if you put the butyl rubber on it, because the butyl rubber acts as a sealant, but you can never be too careful. Now, time to seal around the edges and fit the vent.
You don't have to do this at all, lads, but I wanted a nice clean seal around the vent, so I cleaned up the butyl rubber tape with a Stanley knife, masking taped around the edges, and put a good bit of the white 522 Sikaflex all around the edges, and ended up using this silicone smoothing tool to just clean it all up and make it look nice and tidy. Again, this is completely optional, and a lot of people say the messier it is, the better the seal.
Little tip here for you lads, if you grab some soapy water and you spray it onto your sealant and you want to clean up little bits, you can mold it with your finger without getting anything on your finger. Bit of soapy water or window cleaner does the job. So that's just to clean up the sealant that I put around the screws so that it stops them from rusting. This is it. Now, just there. Okay. Vent is in. Happy out now with that vent. What we're gonna do is test if it's sealed properly. So Annie's just getting the hose there, and we're gonna spray it over top because even though I made it a very clean seal, I'm just afraid that I've missed something. So I might have to put an extra layer of sealant over it. But I should be okay, hopefully. So far so good lads, no leaks, no water getting in. It's nice to have a little bit of extra light, like all the doors are closed. There's still a good bit of light here. Looks good, Bean. Want to do the honors?
Chilla.
Hey! Nice, look at this. Vent is done. The next part is getting the floor stuck down and glued properly, but there's a lot of ridges and stuff, so when the floor is sitting there, there's a lot of parts where it's unsupported. I have all of this like pieces of wood that I got from an old shoe rack that I just took apart, so I'm going to recycle it and use it for leveling the floor. So let's take one of these, and let's say, so there's a little rib there, I don't know if you can see that, and then the floor kind of overhangs near the wheel arch. So on the parts like this, I'm gonna put these levelers so that when the floor sits on top of it, it sits flush and has an extra bit of support. So what I'll do is I'll just cut out a bit of this insulation, use a bit of like glue, and stick this to the floor, and hopefully it should all be supported all around the wheel arch. Any entry points, any places where there's going to be a lot of weight and like foot traffic, so the garage area and also the sliding door, but also the front bit as well. That's the plan. I'm just going to measure out what length I need. That's it there now lads. So that's all of the supporting bits of timber that I'm going to use. It's all kind of on the edges, and especially where you enter, like right here, you're constantly stepping in and out, and without these pieces of wood to support it, the floor is just kind of overhanging here without anything supporting it. So the more you step onto it, the more you're bending it and just wearing it down quicker.
We have reinforcements today, lads, helping myself and Annie with Morrison. Simon was mad to hack away at Morrison with an angle grinder, so to install the rear windows, we had to remove these supporting struts first. Came off handy enough, and we just had to be careful with sparks flying around the place, but also to not completely cut through the panel and get our measurements wrong. But while Simon's hacking away there, I made a checklist for how to install a window in your own van, because the exact same steps and process applies to any van window installation.
Pause the video and screenshot the checklist, but I'll quickly run you through it. it. You'll need an angle grinder, a jigsaw and a metal blade, drill with the drill bits, metal file, rust prevention spray or paint, a degreaser and a clean cloth, sandpaper and masking tape, the rubber trim for when you cut the metal out, a window adhesive like Dinitrile 500 that I have here, a glass primer and applicator, it's also by Dinitrile, isopropyl alcohol wipes, and last but not least again, PPE.
Same thing goes for drilling into metal, lads. Use a screw or a nail to punch a guide hole to stop your drill from sliding around the metal. Then start drilling your pilot holes and make sure to drill more holes around the corners. This will act like a template and get more accurate cuts because you'll spend less time turning with the jigsaw. Annie and Emily were working away in the background, finishing up the insulation around the vent, and Emily was placing the floor levelers all around the van.
Whoa, 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 whoa! Whoa! Fucking hell. Ah, yeah.
And once you've enough holes drilled out from the inside of the van, you can then start making a template using masking tape outside of the van and using this as your guideline to cut with your jigsaw. Don't forget to reinforce the panel every so often with masking tape just to stop it from flapping around from the vibrations.
That's it. Oh. Go. Oh! Well, do you want a 99?
And it's no harm if your cuts look a little bit rough as long as your measurements are right, because you can always file them down using a metal file, or as Simon says, just use an angle grinder. It's fairly difficult to smooth down these corners, so I just used the rounded edge on my metal file to smooth these out. And not that I could do anything about the hole we've just cut at this stage if I was wrong, but it's always good to double check that everything still fits every now and again. And once you know you haven't made a balls of it, you can start prepping the van and the window itself before you fit everything together. First thing we did was secure the exposed metal that we've just cut with this rubber trim that fits snugly all around the window. Then the same thing that we did for the vent, we sanded around the edges to improve the adhesion of the window glue to the main body of the van. Cleaned it up with a bit of degreaser, then started prepping the window that we're going to fit. Again, double check that your measurements are correct and that you're prepping the correct side of the glass. Pretty hard to get wrong, but I wouldn't write it off, especially when there's a big gaping hole in your van. You might panic a little bit. I had to speed up this bit here because we definitely weren't reading instructions or looking up TikToks on how to properly prep and apply the window glue. Anyway, the first step is to clean the area you're going to apply the adhesive to by wiping it with isopropyl alcohol, letting it sit for a minute or two, then wiping it off with a clean cloth. Then it's time to apply the glass primer using the special applicator that it comes with. This is what the window glue will sit on top of, so apply it to anywhere you'll be working with. I've seen some people completely cover the area with this primer, and I've seen others only put one line around the edge of the glass, so it's completely up to you and how you want to apply it. Once that's done, let it sit for 15 or 20 minutes to cure. Prep the van as well and apply the glass primer here. Again, apply it how you want to, but just make sure that the glue is sitting on top of this primer and not just on the paint of the van. I completely covered it just to be sure. While the primer was drying, Simon got to work on the other side to get the other window cut out. This is it, lads. It's time to apply the window glue and stick on our first window. Make sure to warm up the glue by leaving it in warm water for a while or using a heat gun on a low setting. This will make it easier to squeeze out and to apply. Again, this completely depends on how you want to apply it. I've seen people apply just one thick straight bead around the edge, but I went with a slight zigzag to get more coverage and reduce the chances of it leaking. Lifting the glass is probably a two-person job, but if you have glass suction cup handles, you'd probably be able to do it on your own if you had to. Then it's just about lining it up properly and pushing it into place. You have a bit of time to push it around and line it up, but it would have annoyed me if it was off or skewed, so I'm buzzing that we got this first one bang on.
First window in. Oh!
Well, you'll know anyway if it's going to stay on your first drive.
Put some tape at the top and reinforce it just to stop it slipping down and going out of line while the glue is setting. And if you're putting two windows here, make sure to cover the area while you're working on the other side so no bits of metal creep in under the glass. Like everything in this van build so far, after getting past the fear of doing it for the first time, it becomes extremely straightforward. So I started prepping the glass while Simon finished cutting out the panel. I know I'm repeating myself here, but clean the area with isopropyl alcohol, let it dry for a minute, wipe it down, apply the glass primer, sand the body of the van, degrease and clean it, apply the primer to the van, then finally apply the window glue to the window itself. If you have a bit of glue left, it doesn't hurt to add more to certain areas you think doesn't have enough, just to prevent any water getting in. Remember what I said about double checking things? Well, I forgot to do it for this glass, and here's what happened.
Oh fuck.
What?
This is backwards.
Hmm?
This isn't the right one.
Yeah,
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
Oh, fucking hell, I was like, hold up.
Wait a minute. Something ain't right.
Wait a minute.
Something ain't right. I fucking shot myself there for a second.
After my brain disconnected for a second, we finally got the last window in.
This episode has been such a massive change for Morrison, so I feel like I have to reintroduce you. I just realised that installing the rear windows wasn't on the checklist, but let me change that. So, big job done. We've added the floor levelers. Emily did that yesterday, and that's already done. Stuck down. I used this Unibond No More Nails glue to stick it all down. The floor hasn't been stuck down yet, and I promise I'm gonna get it stuck down next episode. There's just a lot happening in this one, and we'll get the floor fully set and stuck down next one. We've taped the insulation. Annie did a great job on that, and she actually added insulation near the vents. So that's half the job's done. I know I didn't have this initially. It was planned, I promise. But that's done. So that's pretty much it. So next episode we're gonna get these pretty easy jobs done. So from the last episode, I remember showing you that I had 2 of these windows, which goes on the sliding door and the opposite side. The exact same process as the rear windows goes for installing those side ones. But there's only so much I could share with you and show you to do today. So the next time that I do install those, it might be in a couple of weeks' time. I won't run you through it as in depth as I did with these ones, because you'll know exactly what to do, or you can refer back to this video. Yeah, massive shout out to Simon and Emily for helping us with Morrison today. There's a big change going on. I actually still can't believe it. Like, it's mad looking back on these episodes and how much progress we keep making with the van, but today is definitely one of the biggest days. Still a mountain of work to do this winter, but we'll tick it off and go one by one. I don't think there's anything else. These episodes are filmed over the space of a week, so there's definitely stuff that I forgot to like mention or update you on, but I'll see you in the next one. Good luck.